Everyone has a dream camera rig. Well, this one's mine, a fully modernized pocket cinema camera. It's taken around 12 years of slowly buying inexpensive gear to modernize it on a budget. There are some new exceptions like the LiDAR system and the camera media. The rest though, everything from the dual SDI out battery plate, the high brightness monitor, battery system, wireless video mics, map box, lens and NDs was bought used. So today, while I prep for a shoot with this very setup, I thought it would be a great opportunity to run through the entire rig, explaining why I've made these choices along the way. Nothing shown is sponsored, I have paid for everything, so let's start with one of my favorite pieces, the cage. This cage is new and is from XLCS design. It's built like a tank and packed with rigging points and is one of the only options you have today for this camera. The cage fully encases the camera except for the back, but I also grabbed the system screen protector because if the screen fails or gets damaged, that can really impact the usability of the camera professionally. And it just screws on here, and then when you add the riser plate, it neatly aligns to the screen protector's screw head on the bottom, which is very, very clever. These are some of my old 15mm rods, which I'm rigging just in case I need to swing to a lightweight follow focus on the day. To stage the camera on any tripod, I use a traditional 15mm Arri Studio sliding bridge plate. I do this on every build. But even though I've had this one for over 20 years, unless you can find one used, don't buy it. The one that I would recommend to get is this one from Pro-Aim, and it will only set you back around $120 when not on sale. Next, as I like to be able to speed load the camera, I always use Euro plates in combination with Studio sliding bridge plates. This way I can quickly slide load and balance the camera on any tripod. Recently I've been using these ones from Small Rig, but unfortunately they have been discontinued, which is a shame because I think these are probably one of the best Small Rig products that I've ever found. So used today is your only option. At the front of the camera cage, there is these mounting points if you're running speed boosters, but from the discussions I've had with the project's director about the look of the ad, we have decided to go with native micro four thirds lenses. Now, after testing for a week, we settled on how this 10mm SLR Magic rendered faces. It's not that fast at T2.1, but they have a nice amount of micro contrast and the right amount of funk for our project. And best of all, it only costs $50 used and it's in amazing condition. So I'll be able to make a handy return on investment from a small amount of money on a single production. Really, that's the industry secret to getting gear for free and making a big profit. Now for its size, it's a bit of a chunky boy, but the additional weight is welcome to reduce the micro jitters. It's also sharp, accurately marked, fast, and offers a very, very nice field of view when mated to the OG, which as we all know has a teeny weeny native 800 ISO sensor. As for today's standards, I know that none of this sounds very fast or impressive, but believe me, even indoors with this combo in low light, I am going to need a lot of ND to control practicals, windows, and my contrast. But I'll get into the filtration in a bit because first I want to talk about how I fixed one of this camera's biggest issues, its battery life. Let's face it, these Nikon batteries that ship with the camera are just hot garbage. Most people over the years fix this with NPF battery adapters, but the issue with those is if you have a lot of other accessories to power, like I do here, you'll need a lot more batteries, more chargers, more management, and nobody needs that on a busy day. This is a much simpler solution. This is my wooden camera C-Box. I've owned it for ages. Basically, it's a V-Lock power plate, which adds one D-tap and one 5-volt USB power output. But when you couple that with a modern block battery like this one from ZG Cine, you gain another D-tap, USB-A, and USB-C power outputs. And if you add a dirt cheap 4x D-tap splitter, you suddenly have a system that can power a whole host of stuff via separate cables, a single D-tap cable, or a single USB-C cable like I'm doing here. So this one USB-C NPF dummy battery cable runs first to the 7-inch Andy Cine 2000 nit monitor. I'm not sure who makes it, but I'll drop the product code of it in the description if you're interested. I could have just powered the monitor via USB-C to USB-C, but I didn't want the cable to accidentally disconnect, so the dummy battery was a much safer option. From here, the monitor passes power through to the camera and the wireless transmitters via its inbuilt NPF battery plate. To power everything up, all I need to do is drop on a battery and plug in the USB-C cable. The C-Box then draws its power from the V-Lock battery, which in turn powers either the HDMI to dual HDMI, SDI to triple SDI, or either signals cross-conversion output. It is literally one of the best pieces of kit I've ever found, and would have to be one of my most profitable items in my kit bag. There are just so many ways to route the image signal, but if you need more distribution options, that's where this guy comes in super handy, the Pyro 7. It instantly solves the no cables allowed problem. It can connect to 5 devices like iPads, which work great as reference monitors, has excellent range, and pairs super easy. Yes, there is some transmission latency, but for a budget production, it's acceptable, which leads me to the heart of the build, because this is the key piece that is tying everything together and allowing me to keep the footprint this small, and that's the Cine C7 Lite monitor. This is a fantastic monitor that offers a ton of functionality. It's just a solid, practical monitor designed for everyday use. The picture quality is pretty good and it accepts a 4K 60p signal, which even some of my more expensive monitors don't do. But what I really like about the C7 Lite though is what I see by eye is very close to what I see in post. The exposure meters are very accurate, it has enough programmable buttons, and the audio monitor is unmissable. It has pinch to zoom for focus, which is very responsive. There's no distracting fan noise, and the power draw is very low, meaning this kit can run for days or even weeks off one single large battery. Now, I attached the Cine to the top handle with a monitor mount from Surui. I've tried so many of these and they almost always fail and start to wobble around, but this one is excellent quality and dual anti-twist, which is rare. And I prefer this type of monitor mount over Magic Arms, which if decent, are expensive. The best thing is, even with all this stuff attached to the monitor mount, it easily holds the weight, is single hand adjustable, and there's zero danger of this collapsing compared to a Magic Arm. The top handle is from SmallRig, NATO rail in style, and that's just because I'm a huge fan of being able to quickly remove the handle and everything attached to it in one go. And even though that's not something I intend to do on this job specifically, I'm still rigging it that way just in case I need to change the setup on the day. But I also think this top handle is something I need to tweak later, as it's right on the edge of being too short for my hand. At the front of the camera build is my matte box I'm using. It's from Neewer and is a $60 2-stage clamp-on. It's a pretty decent compact kit that's perfect for cameras of this sensor size. It comes with everything that you need, but I wouldn't recommend it for full-frame cameras, especially if you want to run wide-angle lenses, as it's just a little bit too small. But for this, it's perfect. Really, its big pluses are, it's a super lightweight composite matte box. It comes with a stack of metal step-up donuts, 2 filter trays, and clamps on super tight so you don't ever have to worry about it falling off. It does have a mounted threaded point on the bottom in case you want to affix it to your rail system, but if you're going to do that, perhaps you would be better off with a different matte box like this swing-away one from Landpart. The trays accommodate 4x565 solid filters, which easily slide into place. You can stage more than 2 filters, but that will stop you from being able to attach the top flag, which you can see I have removed. Now, currently the filtration I'm using is from K&F Concept. These Nano filters are very high quality and very neutral and do not cause color shifts when stacked, but the best thing about them is that they are affordable. These are not going to cost you $2, $3 or $4 grand a set. I picked up an entire set from Amazon for less than $500 on sale. And these are probably the best product that I've bought this year, behind the real reason I've removed the top flag from the matte box being the DJI Focus Pro. There are so many reviews praising this system and they're all justified. But the way the system mounts out of the box isn't ideal. And that was the first thing that I replaced, the mounting bracket. I found this solution from Nitsy, but for what it is, it was expensive at $70. However, it's the only system that I could find that offers forwards, backwards, left, right, up, down, and rotational adjustments. And you really need all of that to get the LiDAR in the ideal position for each lens and sensor combo. At the moment, it's still sitting up a little bit too high, but that's more of a byproduct of the compactness of this specific setup rather than the Nitsy mount. I just don't have a lot of space left here. I could have mounted the LiDAR system under the lens, but that causes problems on its own, like the type of matte box that you can use or whether you can even put the camera down on the ground. You could mount it to the top of the matte box, but then every time you would need to swing a lens, you're going to have to disconnect the LiDAR and reboot the system. At the moment, I think the best way to mount the LiDAR is still above the lens like I have here. And from all of my testing, it works solidly with the Pocket OG, a super 16mm size sensor, micro 4/3 lenses, and the format's deeper depth of field. I have the side handle mounted on the assistant side, mainly because I'm right-handed, and I prefer cradling the camera with my left hand for stability like this. The design allows for easy rotation for shooting from the hip, but I've also added a NATO rail so I can change the handle's height to reduce wrist strain. Filming like this is a super stable way to shoot, but I prefer to film like this. So if I had the option, I would mount the DJI hand grip on top of the camera and eliminate the side handle altogether. I believe that's the best place to operate and see the hand grip screen for the way I naturally handle a camera. But unfortunately, at the time of making this video, there's no simple solution for that. If it could be mounted atop the camera, it would also further reduce the overall footprint of the setup by 10 centimeters in width, which is substantial. Now, because of their short design, I find it easier to hang the fizz motors rather than mount them off the lens support rods. Otherwise, they don't either reach or the thumb screws interfere with my base plate system. From here, the system is super easy to calibrate and you're off to the races with autofocus on your 12-year-old Pocket. This system is just impeccable, and I have the older Tilta Nucleus M system to compare it with, which is still my gold standard, but the LiDAR autofocus on this system is just magic. So if you're like me and have a stack of Cine lenses that you would love to use on smaller budget projects that can't afford an AC, well, I think DJI has come pretty close to solving that. It won't work in every scenario, but it's pretty close. For me, the quality and value of manual glass is just so much better than AF, especially if you've invested in PL sets. You just don't get locked into a camera brand and then you're free to switch systems and not have to sell off your lenses. As for how long the LiDAR system runs off the included battery, well, that will depend on how stiff your lenses are, how hard the motors have to work, and how far they need to turn. For the most part, I'm getting around 7 hours of runtime from the focus system, so most people will need 2 or more battery handles to get through a day safely without having to carry a charger. Hopefully someone will make a DTAP powered supply handle with better ergonomics with a wide LANC interface for older cameras like this one, because for me on this setup, the start-stop function is unusable. The only thing that's not great about this system is the USB-C cables. They're short and they should have used a more robust connector like Tilta did with the Nucleus, or at least been a locking system. As for audio, on this project, I'm using the Synco wireless mic for scratch audio direct from the sound guy. This camera doesn't have great audio preamps, so dual system really is the only answer. And as we can sync via the audio track instantly in Resolve 19, we do not need a timecode generator. So these Synco mics are perfect, and when we break for lunch, we can just drop them back into their charging case for a refresh. They auto sync, so there's no messing around, they just work. And if I remember correctly, this is the Mega Tank version with more battery runtime. The audio quality on these is pretty good. They have virtually no latency, but as I said, the Soundy is feeding us the audio, so we are really only using them as a wireless relay. Oh, I forgot, with the camera cage, the only absolute must accessory to get is the HDMI cable lock, as these cameras are notorious for breaking here. So if you're looking at the XLCS cage, get the cable locks. It's better to be safe than sorry, which is also why, when it comes to recording media, I exclusively only use one brand, Angelbird. And when it comes to these cameras, most of you already know, these things are pretty finicky at the best of times. But I've found that these 512 gig V90 cards from Angelbird work flawlessly with the camera, as they do with every other compatible camera. So if you have an OG Pocket and you need cards, these are never going to be a bad investment, considering cameras like the new Canon C80 use this exact media type. And we are done. Camera's ready to shoot. But let's discuss a few things. For some, this could be overkill or pointless because of the camera. But we are all creatively different. We all use different tools to create our art. So there's no right way or wrong way, no good or bad camera. But there are stupid expensive cinema camera accessories out there that are expensive just because they're designed for our industry. And that's something that really gets under my skin, which is why I like making videos like these. And believe you me, if I can find cheaper stuff than what I've shown today, I'll either replace it and make another video, or I'll drop it in the comments below. But for now, if you would like to share how you rig your camera in the comments below, I'd love to hear about it.
Swipe up, tag your friends, like and subscribe, comment below.